to watch your step. When you're moving, watch your step. Watch what you're getting yourself into. Trouble is easy to get into and hard to get out of. Watch your step. Everything ain't for you. Everything ain't meant for you. Curiosity kills the motherfucking cat. And I'm saying that because of my man Diddy. Diddy. Now, as you guys know, the Department of Homeland Security, I think it's called Homeland Security, they raided 3 of his houses all over the country in like New York, LA, and Miami. They raided 3 of his mansions because they're investigating him for sex trafficking. Yes, you heard that right. They're investigating him for sex trafficking. I don't know if he did these things. I don't know if he didn't do these things. This is not to gossip. This is not to accuse him of anything. But just based on what's been put out there, his reputation over the last 30-some years, things that people say about him, the various lawsuits, just based on this stuff, I want to kind of give you some game based on that so you don't get yourself caught up. And I'm not saying you're going to be some multi-millionaire rap label, hip-hop label executive and get caught up in something like this, but it's just the point of, the things you're doing, the seeds that you're planting will grow. You got to watch your step when you're out here. Watch your step. That ain't just for when you walking, and you got to watch your step so you don't fall fall down physically. But if you don't watch yourself in the game and in the dating game, you will fall metaphorically. You understand what I'm saying? You'll fall into a sinkhole. You can fall in a pothole. You can fall in a hole and never be able to get back up. You understand what I'm saying? So watch your step. And when I say watch your step, not only do you watch your step, meaning pay attention to what you're doing, pay attention to where you're going, and be conscious of not getting yourself in certain situations and doing certain things. A part of that is knowing the law of the land. You have to know the law of the land. I learned this as a former guy who did bad stuff in my earlier years. I knew early on, I learned early on that you have to know what you're getting into before you get into it. I'm sitting in prison, man, and this dude's that got 30, 40 years. I didn't know you can get, 40 years for some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even going to say bullshit because, committing crimes against people is not bullshit. But, I got a homie. He's still in jail right now. He's still in prison right now. He went to prison when he was 17. I think he was 17 or 18. This dude still in prison right now for some, just a robbery, which is a bad thing. But I don't think that he knew how much time he would be able to get if he did that. You understand? I didn't know when I got caught up, I didn't know like some of that shit carried the amount of time that it carried. I'm sitting in prison talking to dudes. They just didn't know. They didn't know the law of the land, right? With the whole crack epidemic and the whole, with the 80s and 90s in the black community, a lot of these guys that got out here was getting the money to kind of provide and provide a way out of their situations. That was the opportunity. They didn't know that they was going to be going to jail for life. They didn't understand that, these people could put you together with 15 other people and then and label you a kingpin and then have people snitching on you, even if they lying, and you're going to go to jail for the rest of your life. A lot of these guys that got caught up with these laws in the 80s and 90s did not know what they were getting themselves into, and they didn't know the law of the land. And so when I started stepping out there and I started getting older, when I started to get into certain, various walks of life, I made sure that if I was going to be engaged in something, I knew the time that it carried. I knew how much time I can get, and I knew the severity of it. You understand? And so I moved based on that. You see, because a lot of guys do dumb shit. A lot of guys may ride with their homie, and they homie go rob a store or something, and they don't know that shit carried 30 years in the state of Florida. They don't know that if they pull a gun out on somebody, we got a 10-20 life law. Well, we used to have it back then. They don't know that if they pull a gun out on somebody, they're going to do an automatic 10 years. You know, they don't know if they shoot that gun in the air trying to threaten somebody, they're gonna do 20 years. They don't know this and they get themselves jammed up. They don't know that half a brick, you know, if the feds come catch you with that half a brick and it's hard, it's you cooking it to hard, they don't know that you could spend the rest of your life in federal prison behind that. They don't know that them 5, you know, them 5 grams of crack cocaine will get you 10 years in federal prison. They didn't know that if you have a gun with the drugs, and I learned that the hard way. They don't know that if you have your guns and your drugs in the same place, the gun enhances it. I didn't know that shit. I went to jail one time. I had some, you know, some stuff, and I had a gun, and I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? You see what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know that. Like, I'm like, what y'all talk about? Y'all tripping. Like, the amount of time this carry, just because a gun involved, and I ain't shoot the gun or nothing. The shit is in my house. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, you got to learn the law of the land. And I'm saying that to say, when you are involved in sexual perversion, when you're involved in certain type of things, there's laws, man. There's laws. And recently, within the last 10 to 15 years, they have changed the laws and have, as far as like pimping and sexual stuff, they kind of have redefined that behind the scenes and classified a lot of things as sex trafficking. Whereas before, it wouldn't be considered sex trafficking or human trafficking. But sex trafficking is a real thing. Human trafficking is a real thing. And that's not human trafficking or sex trafficking is not necessarily kidnapping somebody and drugging them and forcing them to do sex work. That's not what that is. If I meet a woman, and I'm gonna read the definition. I'm gonna read the definition of sex trafficking. If I meet a woman, or what the law defines as sex trafficking in the United States, if I meet a woman, right, and let's say this woman wants to be a video editor for me, and that's her dream, to be a video editor for me, right? And when she comes over to meet me, or we chilling at the house, and then my homies are there. Let's just say my homies are there, and then we all run a train on this chick. That chick can say, hey, well, I did this because I wanted to get a job, or he made it seem like this was the way to get a job. That is considered sex trafficking. Even if I did say, let's say if I said, hey, in order to do this, you got to get this job. That's sex trafficking. But even if I didn't, a woman can say whatever. She could say, well, I felt like I needed to do this. He coerced me into doing this so I could get an editing job for him. You understand what I'm saying? So my point in watch your step and know the law of the land is, a lot of the things that y'all be doing, because I even had to do a podcast about a guy, you know, I think it's episode 7, preventing SA allegations. I think a lot of the things that y'all be doing, you don't know that it's considered sexual assault or stuff like that. Like, he didn't know what he was doing was by definition, not what your opinion is, not what you think it is, not what you think it should be. We're talking about what the law states. He didn't know what he was doing with sexual assault. And so I did a podcast to kind of break it down. But that's the point of watch your step, because you got to know. And so with this sex thing, I'm not saying that that's because I don't know, I wasn't there or whatever. Just based on the allegations, it's muddy waters. And I'm going to read what sex trafficking is as far as the United States go. What's defined as sex trafficking. Now, this is from the Department of Justice, the United States government. This is how they define it. And sex trafficking is under the umbrella of human trafficking. So we're going to read this because I want you guys to beware and understand the things that you're doing. You know what I'm saying? These ain't the 80s and 90s no more. The laws have changed. Things have changed. What's considered sexual assault and those things have changed. What's considered rape, what's considered consent, these things have changed. And I want you guys to, this isn't me trying to fight against the system and, oh, no. The law is the law, and you got to know the law of the land, my brother. You got to follow the laws of the land. You understand what I'm saying? But So this isn't a thing to where it's like, oh, it shouldn't be this, and this ain't my fucking opinion, and this ain't even no debate, because this is the law. This comes directly from the Department of Justice, the United States government. Human trafficking is a crime involving the exploitation of a person for labor, services, or commercial sex, right? The Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000 and its subsequent reauthorizations recognize and define two primary forms of human trafficking. So there's two forms of human trafficking. Sex trafficking is the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, obtaining, patronizing, or solicitation of a person for the purpose of a commercial sex act, in which a commercial sex act is induced by force, fraud, or coercion, or in which the person induced to perform such act is not attained, has not attained 18 years of age. So if a woman, if you sleep with a minor and this minor does something for somebody else, if this minor, let's say you say, oh, well, you got to suck my homie off or some shit, and it's a minor, that's sex trafficking, and you're going to go to jail for a long fucking time. And I hope y'all wouldn't be doing no shit like that and fucking with minors. But listen to all of the stuff that's considered. It's recruitment, harboring, or transportation, or provisioning, obtaining, patronizing, or solicitation of a person for the purpose of a commercial sex act, in which the act is induced by force, so that's taking it, or forcing somebody to do something, fraud, right? Saying, hey, or, just defrauding a person or tricking them, basically manipulation or coercion. Hey, if you want this job, I need you to do this. If you want this, I need you to do this. You see what I'm saying? That is considered sex trafficking. And so what I'm saying is, from the allegations, based on the allegations, not saying that what he did was that, but it's easy for a person to lie. It's easy for a woman to lie and get you caught up in some stuff like that. And this is based on the way he liked to party. You understand what I'm saying? In one of the documents, it was saying like how he sneak record people and all this old shit. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what they're saying in court. That falls in the line of blackmail and coercion. So you guys got to be careful about when you're going to these freak parties. You guys got to be careful about when you're doing these going to these underground sex dungeons and where's everybody there in these sex retreats and all this hedonism, black hole shit. Y'all have to be careful about what you're getting yourself into, because you never know what's going on, and you never know the people you associate with. Like, it's considered sexual assault if you, or non-consent if you have relations with a woman who's intoxicated. So let's say you go to one of these places. And these with these sex parties, and everybody there be doing drugs and all this old shit and drunk out their mind, and you just do something with a person and they wake up one day and then you famous and they poor. The person could easily say, oh, I was at this party and I didn't tell him don't touch me, or I didn't tell him don't go up inside of me. Like, you gotta kind of, you gotta have dick discipline and discipline. And because I'm not saying that it will happen to you, but it can. And the things that you do will come to the light. And I don't think he knew this. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying, or that's what I mean when I say you got to watch your step out here, especially if you get into the more sexual perverted type of stuff, dealing with hookers, or dealing with, I see this a lot. Dudes go try to get them some pussy from a trick or something, and the trick be an undercover, or they get caught up in a sting or something. They get caught up in a human trafficking thing just for being a customer. You see what I'm saying? Now you got, because they do that here a lot in Hillsborough County and the neighboring Polk County. They do that here a lot, where these guys will go and sleep with a prostitute or whatever, but then they be a part of a sting because the pimp who's running the whole operation is sex trafficking. And so when you are patronizing that, whether you know it or don't know, when you patronizing it, because that's is defined in that when you're patronizing it, you become a part of sex trafficking now. This shit is serious, so you got to watch your step. Stop tricking and stop fucking with strippers and fucking with prostitutes and paying money for sex and all this old going to sex parties and all this old perverted shit. You better stop, bruh, and watch your motherfucking step. You understand? I had a homegirl used to be into that type of stuff. And she would always, and this was way before I even started doing this, she would always invite me to do shit like that. Like she knew of like all these underground fucking sex parties. It was like big old freak offs, warehouses of people just nothing having sex, or these sex retreats where they get these fucking mansions and it's just nothing but sex and just hundreds of people. Just, she would try to invite me to shit like that. I'd be like, I'm straight on that. I almost went because I just wanted to see what it was like, but I ain't no freaky dude like that. I ain't no sexual pervert like that. I'm just not. I ain't freak man. You know what I'm saying? And so I almost went one time just to see it. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't. But she would always try to get me to go because I never went because I was never on no shit like that. And I'm glad now. And this was way before I ever started doing this. I'm glad now because it's like, anything can come of that. Anything could come of that. And everything is not to be experimented with. That's just what I believe. Like, you're not supposed to experiment everything. Everything ain't for you. You got to watch what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? You sometimes, what they say, be careful when you dance with the devil because you don't know how long that dance going to be. You understand what I'm saying? I'm using that to say, like, you never know. You may, you want to get some pussy from a drunk chick or whatever. And, she can't really, what did the Fujiano dude say? Oh, she told her to take off her panties. She couldn't even understand me. She's so high off a perk. You see what I'm saying? Like, you got to be careful because, when you dance with that evil, you don't know how long that shit gonna last. And you don't know, when that shit gonna come to bite you in your ass. You understand what I'm saying? One of my favorite songs ever. And I hated that that just made me cringe, and I'm glad he took him off this song. But with Rick Ross, like that whole put Molly in her champagne and all that shit, that was crazy. That's crazy, bruh. You see what I'm saying? And I love that song. And for the guys that know, I used to use that beat in my earlier videos because I just love that beat. That's one of my favorite songs because I'm a fan of Rocco. I like Rocco. That whole mixtape that was on was one of my favorite shits when I was in the streets. And I used to bump that because Rocco be on some Get Money shit. And that was on there. But anyway, everything ain't meant to be experimented with.